Hello, it is time to start the show. And I'm going to get started right after this.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that. So, good morning. Good morning, David. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. One, I'm excited. We got that giveaway we're doing. So, we dropped a new video. Folks, if you haven't emailed, if you haven't subscribed yet, you still have time. And then I like that intro. It's got that like funk style, like wake up, like I don't know, like I like it. I really do. It's a good morning. It's a beautiful morning. And hey, thanks everybody for coming. Cheers to you. And David, we got a good show today. What do you got going on today?
At this point, really not much. Got to go out and see. I mean, it's been raining on and off, so I got to go out and see if this really muddy spot in my parking lot is ready to take some gravel. But other than that,
Well, real quick, we'd like to say good morning to everybody. Thank you for coming. We'd like you to stick around. Shout out to Bebop. You are the best. Really appreciate you. Good morning, Eric. You're one of our favorites. Gammon Brown, solid as always, coming through. Gammon strong. Tell you what, we'll get Gammon on here really soon because he's a great guest and we like his insight and it's just gonna be awesome. Got something planned in the future with Gammon. Okay, so we got Red Jet coming in. She is in the house. Let's go. And we also have Miss Leilani Oliva, the beautiful one as always. And gotta say that. Shout out to my mother-in-law. All right, so we also have Dawn Dawson. Good morning, Dawn. Folks, what we got going on, and David, what we have in store for everyone is the retired numbers. So, folks, if you haven't ever seen them, or if you haven't taken a wild gander and said, hey, why isn't that number ever used? Well, today we're going to go through it a little bit, and we're going to talk about some of those players that you don't necessarily see anymore. And really quickly, we'll give you a glimpse. This is what you got. This is the numbers that aren't used anymore for the 49ers, unless there's a special circumstance, unless there's something special happens or something by some weird, bizarre way they say, hey, can I use this number? So we have Steve Young, we have Brody, Montana, Perry, McElhenney, Johnson, Lott, Kruger, Nominelli, St. Clair, Rice, and Clark. And folks, we're going to go through. We're going to go try to go through all 12. If we can't get through all 12 today, we're going to go through 6. So, how does that sound, David?
That sounds good.
Awesome. So we have a couple more people who's joined the chat today. Thank you again, as always. We have Mr. I just thought I seen him. Oh, we have Miss Jess coming in. Thank you, Jess. Very, very appreciative. All right, so let's start out, folks. We are going to screen share. And before we get into the retired player numbers, there has been a couple of things that's happened. There's been a boost in the salary cap. The salary cap has went up, I want to say about $30 million. Is that correct, David?
30.5.
So there's going to be a little bit of extra money out there, folks. So, the Niners, they can upgrade in some key areas if everything goes right. Restructuring can happen, and there's a lot of other things. Right now, we currently have between 19 to 21 players. We've lost one player already. I think we're going to lose a couple more players. And sometimes players need to go other places to get paid, and sometimes we have to let players go so we can upgrade in those positions. Shout out to Michaela. Thank you very much, little girl, for coming through. Hope you get to coming home maybe today or here really soon. You're awesome, and I'm really, really glad you're here today. And all right, so let's start out, David. We are going to go with my favorite and maybe your favorite. Well, I don't know. I would have to say yours might be tied with Ronnie Lott on this page. But for sure, my favorite player, and I'll let you get into that as well. But my favorite player right here is Steve Young. Who's your favorite? Let's go back to the screen real quick, and we'll look at that real quick. Who is your favorite retired 49er? And this is retired jersey numbers, folks.
He's actually my favorite 49er all time, but Ronnie Lott.
Ronnie Lott. Okay, I see. That's why I was wondering, and I was sure. I wasn't confident, but I was pretty sure. I would have to say Ronnie Lott's a really good choice as well. I like Young, and I like Rice. Montana's the man. Everybody knows Montana's the man. And Clark was really good, and of course, you like Ronnie Lott, and Ronnie Lott. He's got his honorable mentions, and I mean, what he gave up for the team is just. I mean, David, what did he do for the people who don't know about Ronnie Lott? What did Ronnie Lott do for the 49ers?
He played corner and safety, was very good at both. And he cut the tip of his pinky off because he didn't want to miss a game.
So he gave up a little bit of himself in order for the team's success to go on. He was a game changer, a game maker. And like you said, he was very versatile in the defense. His heart and soul went into helping San Francisco win the championships that they did. And because of an injury on the field and him being afraid to miss time going into, I want to say the playoffs, I could be wrong. It might've been just regular season, but he did. He had the tip of his finger cut off so he could continue his help, because, when you are on a team sport, you don't necessarily always think about yourself. You think about the team and what you can do to help the team and what he thought about doing instead of going into surgery and having to be out for a while. He said, if I just clip that right there, I won't need it and it won't hurt. And I can just rub a little bit of dirt on it and get back in it. And I think that's what he did. So David, besides Ronnie Lott, let's start out with Steve Young. I'm not going to say he's your favorite 49er quarterback, but that's a good way to start. We both got to meet the man, and let's get into a little bit about his stats. So we're going to go ahead and share the screen, everybody. Me and David will still be right here, though. Have no fear. All right, folks. This is Pro Football Reference. It is a great website, great website. If you have ever gotten a chance to check it out, definitely check it out. So I like going here. Any questions I have, truly, I can get answered here. Anything retired, anything, really anything, all-time stats, I just go right here. Not a plug. I'm just telling you, this is a really helpful website. So Steve Young was the only player in our history to wear number 8. David, do you know where Steve Young went to college at?
Brigham Young University, about an hour and a half drive from where I live.
Yeah, Steve Young was the man. My wife and me doing a little research about Steve Young. She's gonna let everybody know a little bit more here shortly as well. But Brigham Young University, the head coach at the time was a former coach of the 49ers. And because a left-handed quarterback, the coach had a hard time. He went on and he ended up starting at BYU, and he ended up going into the USFL, a pro football league that didn't necessarily work out. The man was the, and because Steve Young is on his contract, and his contract is guaranteed up to 2027, if I'm correct. So he's still getting paid by the USFL, who is no longer in existence. Not just because he did that, but the other end, he didn't win all 3 Super Bowls. He was on the bench for a couple, but he did help the team win games during the times. He won the Super Bowl in 1994, 1995 against the Chargers. He's been a 7-time Pro Bowler and 3-time All-Pro. David, do you have any other honorable mentions that you speak about Mr. Steve Young?
Well, you know, when he was drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they were a horrible franchise, you know, and wasn't the right place for him to go. And we ended up acquiring him in the late 80s, and he sat behind, you know, Joe Montana, one of the GOAT folks, and ended up coming around and being the best quarterback we had in the 90s. I mean, we ended up with back-to-back Hall of Famers. You know, that's incredibly rare in the NFL. Green Bay's did it, and we've done it. I don't think there's any other team in the league that has done that.
All right, folks, we're glitching a little bit because of the screen sharing. So if you bear with us, I'm sorry. We'll try to go through this quick, and then we can talk about other stuff. And we can always go off script. I have my paper as well. But what I was liking to do is we'll jump into the next player. My kind of lags a little bit, I guess, when I screen share. Okay. Steve Young is a great player, and we can go all in detail with him. John Brody was the player that the 49ers. Let's drop this for now. I think my screen sharing will have to stop that for right now. All right, so we're back, folks. We will go to screen sharing when I need to. I think it'll save my internet a little bit. Okay, David. It's interesting that Steve Young was the only 49er to wear number 8. But when we go into the number 12 jersey number, that's been retired. And we can show folks this as well, so you can see the number 12 again. The number 12, the 12 player jerseys that's been retired. So 12, you see Brody's name there. Brody's name's there because he's the one honored. He's the one whose jersey was retired. So no one else will wear 12 because of John Brody. But prior to John Brody, we had Hal Ledyard, and we also had Maury Duncan. Hal played in 1953. Maury played in 1954 to 1955. John Brody took over in 1957 and played in 1973. They retired his number later. Later on in 2007, Trent Dilfer went and asked the Brodys if he could wear the number in honor, and also because he wore that number throughout his career, and he didn't want to change his number if he didn't have to, but he wanted the permission, and he was awarded it. So in 2007, the number 12 was put back out on the 49ers football field. Now, what this is, to me, is interesting because you go from one quarterback who no one ever else will wear the number 8 unless Steve Young, again, does what John Brody kind of did here. And then you go to 4 players. And it's interesting because the first 3 players we're all back in the 50s. So once that John Brodie got the number, it kind of was just, it was done. He did enough with that number and wore it long enough. He became that number. When you get to number 16, 16 is one of those numbers that everybody really likes to, hey, I'm a 49er fan. We root for number 16, right? Who's number 16 when you say San Francisco, Mr. McNiner?
Joe Montana. That's
right. And you know what else is fun about number 16? There's been 4 players that's wore it. So, going to 12, going to 16, both numbers being retired, you got 4 players. We know about Joe Montana. He was back in 1979 to 92. He wore the number. He retired the number. He became Mr. 16. But before that, we kind of maybe give up on the guy a little too soon. Maybe he didn't fit the scheme. We got this guy, I believe, from the Patriots. And he came to our team. He only played for, I want to say, a season, maybe 2 seasons, 1976 to 1977. Jim Plunkett. And the reason I'm saying what I'm saying and talking the way I'm talking is because Mr. Jim Plunkett left the 49ers, went on to play for the Oakland Raiders, the Los Angeles Raiders, I believe, and won 2 Super Bowls with the Raiders. And, hey, you know what? Sometimes, one man's, I'm not going to call him trash, but one man's used goods is another man's treasure, right? So sometimes, when you go thrift store shopping, or, you go out there and you find deals at the flea market, sometimes you can get lucky. And shout out to Jim Plunkett. We also have Norm Snead, who wore it back in 1974 or 75, and Arnie Gillieff, almost like giraffe, but Gillieff. No, I'm trying to make fun of the man at all. But he wore it back in 1974. Gilliffa. Thank you, David.
Gilliffa.
So what else I find interesting, and then we'll go to screen sharing if we need to. In the number, we'll go right back to the jersey numbers because I like to refer to this so everybody sees where we're at. You go 8, 12, 16, 34. Joe Perry. Joe Perry is a part of the $1 million backfield. And some of these players you might not know about, and that's okay. Because some of these players, they did things during their time, and because of their time, that's what they did. That's why they earned the reason that number's not around anymore. So the $1 million backfield had Joe Perry in it, and Joe Perry was amazing. He just did a lot of great things for the 49ers. He was on our team from 1952 to 1963. Joe Perry, I believe he kicked field goals. I believe he ran the ball. He was a really, really good running back, fullback. He passed sometimes. He was a wide receiver at times. Back in the day, if you could do, you did. And if there was a moment where somebody was hurt or something like that, hey, coach, put me in, coach. And that's the mentality of these guys at the time. They didn't get paid a bunch of money, and they really, truly played the game because they loved the game, and they enjoyed what they did. But Joe Perry was the reason the number got retired. Joe Perry was. So even though Joe Perry wore it from 1952 to 1963, there was times where maybe somebody had to step in or something. So it's a little weird because Bill Cooper in 1961 to 1962, he took the number. He took the number and maybe he only wore it for a little while because back in 1963, Joe Perry took it back. Visco Grich in 1948 to 1951 wore it, and Eddie Forrest in 1946 to 47 wore the jersey number. So, again, these players wore the number, and then another player comes in, and they dominate. They did such, how would you say it? Their athletic, their skills. Sometimes not just their skills; it's what they did for the team. Got them awarded their honor in the circle. To forever, the Niners will say, "Hey, you will be forever remembered." So let's see if we can screen share this again and see if it doesn't glitch out on everybody. David, before we do that, do you have any honorable mentions for the 3 that we just got done talking about? Or the 4? Let's go back here to the brand.
At this point, no, because the other guys, they played. Joe Perry was 52 to 63, so that was a long time ago. And the other guys were before him. So,
yes,
they don't really keep tracks of stats. It's back then. It's kind of hard to tell what they actually did. That's kind of sad.
Yeah. So
that's back in the leather
sometimes
helmet days, Bryant. We think the sport's brutal now. Imagine playing with a leather helmet.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing is these guys played with a lot less equipment. They played with a lot less, and they did maybe they did more. Maybe they did more with less, and on who are protected better, they're outperforming them. They're going to they are bigger, stronger, faster, but it's all because of what these guys did in the mud without pads, without gear, right? Without mouth guards. Some of these guys, if you look at them, they're missing a lot of teeth. You would say, are these guys football players or hockey players? So we are going to share the screen one more time, folks, because we'd like to get into this. This is definitely fun. Let's see, right there. Okay, we tried that one more time. But this is definitely a lot of fun. So our next player is Jimmy Johnson. And the reason Jimmy Johnson is taken away, and the reason his number 37 is taken off the board is because of what he's done on the field. Jimmy Johnson wore the number between 61 to 76. And he was a cornerback / wide receiver. He played both ways on the field. He was one of those guys that definitely would put a crack on you. And he was one of those Niners that made a lot of noise. David, do you have any thoughts on Jimmy Johnson? I know he's he's an older player, but he is one of those players that you see in the highlights when you go to Google him.
Whenever we mention Jimmy Johnson, a lot of people think about that one coach for that one team in Texas. I'm not going to mention. And it's not the same guy, folks. He was a player for us. I think he actually played defensive back and running back, if I remember right, at one point. And he was a good player, especially for the time, That's back when it was all about running the ball, folks. They hardly ever passed.
So let's see. We've had a couple of good players like that. Here we go. Folks, thank you for bearing with me. You're having fun. We are learning today, and that's all it's about is learning. All right. So if you can see we're to 37. So 51 to 51. Looks like he was a 1-year guy. Visco Gertch, 47 to 47, 1-year guy. Homer Hobbs, 1949 to 50. Now this is our guy right here, Jimmy Johnson, 61 to 76. Okay, we're gonna click on him real quick. We have Riley Matheson and Charles Pavlich. And 40 was on the
Gergich.
first 40. All right, Jimmy Johnson, born March 31st. He's from Dallas, Texas. In the first round, 6th overall. Let's see. Played in San Diego too for the Chargers. And let's see. Games 213, average 146, interceptions 47, 615 yards, and 2 touchdowns. What do you think about that, David?
I think he was good. He was. He was one of the better, corners in the league at the time. And did it have any of his offensive numbers? Because there was a season where we tried him at running back, but I don't know how that worked out.
Yeah, we'll go back through these players individually a little slower, and I'll pull up to see if he has any offensive stats because it said 615 stats, so I wasn't sure if that was that that was probably his offensive stats, and we'll try to slow down a little bit. So for this one, this is number 39, and it's Kermit. I'm sorry, it's Hugh McNiner, and we will pull his Alexander. He wore the number. Well, he's at top right now. The first player was Dave Sparks in 1951. Hugh McElhenney wore it from 1952 to 60, and it looks like Kermit Alexander wore it from 63 to 69. Now, is Hugh McElhenney, is he the one that also joined the 49ers coaching staff, David? Is that the reason?
I believe so. I believe he did.
Let's see what it says for Hall of Fame. Hugh McElhenney. Let's see, folks. All right, well, that one, it'll tell us right here on the front. Curly Culp, 1950s team. Hall of Fame inductee was in 1970, born December 31st. He's born in California, Los Angeles, 1928. He passed away June 17th.
Yeah, that's causing some horrible things. I don't know if we should do that anymore.
Okay, folks, I'm sorry if you can't hear me.
You're back.
Yeah, we're gonna have to slow that down. I'm trying to have fun, and it's just not working out. I'm back. So, okay. Well, Hugh McElhenney, he was retired. His number was 39. Ronnie Lott, David. Let's get into Ronnie Lott. What's your thoughts on Ronnie Lott, and what contributions can you think of that would give him a reason to have his number retired besides the finger getting cut off? And I'll pull it up. He was also on the 49ers from 81 to 90, and he was a safety and a cornerback. So I'll pull up Ronnie Lott's stats, not the way we were doing it, so we don't glitch out. Thank you all for sticking around.
Well, you know what? When it comes to Ronnie Lott, he's one of the best safeties we've ever had. I believe his all-time interceptions, I don't know if it actually still leads the list. I think it does. You know, and he started out playing corner and ended up moving to safety when we had a lot of good corners come in, which is that's kind of something we did when Primetime played for us that one year. And we moved Merton Hanks actually started out as a corner. A lot of folks don't know that. And they were having a competition to see who was going to start, and he played so well that they just moved him to free safety. But yeah, Tim McDonald was the starting safety on that squad, folks. But Ronnie Lott was with us for a long time. He ended up joining the Raiders, I believe, late in his career.
So in 14 seasons, he had 8.5 sacks, 63 interceptions. He returned 730 yards and 5 touchdowns. So from his 63 interceptions, he had 730 yards. That's negative yards for the opposing offense. He took yards away from the team, right? And he had 5 touchdowns. He recovered 17 fumbles. He returned 13. He returned them for 43 yards and gained 113 yards. So off of the 17 fumbles, he returned 43 of them. 17 fumbles, he gained 113 yards on kickoff returns. Well, so, okay, 17 fumbles, he gained 43 yards, and he gained 113 on kick returns. So he caught the ball, and he also returned it. I don't know if he returned punts, but I imagine he probably did at one point. Yeah, if he can kick return, he can punt return. It's a little different, but the ball comes down. I think he can get it. David, let's get to our next player. Ronnie Lott, he was a stud. And if you get a chance, he's definitely around 49ers organization, fundraisers and events. You can definitely see him. He is a fan favorite, and his heart's still with the 49ers. Charlie Kruger. What's your thoughts on Charlie Kruger? Number 70. He was a defensive lineman. He played from 59 to 73, and he retired October 6, 1974. Let's pull up Charlie Kruger. He's one of the old timers. One of the 49ers people probably don't remember.
Ooh, only 2 people have wore number 70 in 49er history, folks. You have Ton Doms in 1957. I don't know if he actually made the team or not. And then you had Charlie Kruger. And he was, what wasn't he an offensive tackle?
He was. Oh, I'm sorry. I have it written down.
Or
Right
was
here.
he D-line?
Defensive lineman. Defensive lineman. And his stats are right.
Because we had a couple guys that actually played both. You know, I think, and there's a guy on this list that actually I believe he made the Pro Bowl at both. But
so pro football,
you know, being a defensive lineman in the brutal NFL back then for that long is just a hard thing to do. You know, it shows characteristics like durability and his ability to play the game to be with us for that long.
Charlie Kruger says that from Pro Football Reference says he was a defensive tackle and a defensive edge. So he played a lot of positions on the field. He had 198 games. So that's a lot of games. It's a lot of games during a 14-game season. You know, these guys, man, it was 12 games at that time, huh? It went 12, 14. Mm-hmm.
It went 12 to 14 at some point, but still 198 games. That shows durability on his part.
Two-time Pro Bowler. Okay, so our next player is Leo Nominelli, and I don't think I ever pronounced his name correctly. How would you pronounce it, David? Leo Nominelli.
Honestly, I think you're saying it right. What's his number?
His number is 73. He was a defensive tackle and an offensive tackle.
This is the guy I had in mind when I was talking. Yeah, he was with us for 1952 to 1963. And you know, 6'3", 260. That's pretty big guy for back then, you know.
174 games.
What was his nickname, Bryant?
Ooh, the Lion. The Lion. That's right. Leo. That's cute, isn't it? That's really cute, everybody. Leo the Lion. Wow. So Nominelli, he was a defensive tackle and he was a tackle. So that makes sense. And it really makes sense to me too, because when you play, you know, in high school or, you know, Pop Warner, you play, if you're a wide receiver, you can play corner, right? If you play tackle, you can play defensive tackle. It's like you should know what the other person on the other side of the field, how they play and what their job is to do against you, right? And then you see what side you play better at, right? And you let the coach kind of decide that. Some players, the reason they're not wide receivers is because they can't catch, but they're really fast, so they're corners, right? And then you get the ones that can do both, and those ones are the dangerous ones. But Leo, back in the day, again, he played back in the 50s. He could do both, and that's what they needed. They needed players that could play both sides of the field because you had a lot more injuries back in the day. Injuries that weren't televised or really talked about. They were just, again, this is back in the day when they said rub some dirt on it. If it ain't broken, then we don't want to hear about it. And if it is broken, you better be able to get off the field. If you can't get off the field, well, we're going to get you off the field, but you might not be coming back, right? You know, it's like one of those things. It's like you don't tell people that you're hurt. This was more about like the gladiators. They kind of being hurt wasn't something to be glorious about or being glorified at all. They didn't want to tell anybody that they were hurt. Everybody was hurt out there. You're playing football. This is a men's sport, right? So
yeah. Hey, he was a 6-time All-Pro. A few of those All-Pro seasons were both at offensive tackle and defensive tackle. And he was a 9-time Pro Bowler. This guy, he earned the nickname the Lion.
Okay, so the next one, this one has a nickname as well. And this guy's nickname is a little bit, I don't know, maybe some people don't like it. Some people are offended. Some people, they've used the term. Some people think it's a funny term, whatever. I don't care. It's one of those things. A lot of people who wear glasses, they've been called the geek before, but sometimes, it's people, they like their nickname. Sometimes people don't care. It's maybe some people are more like, hey, it is what it is, right? Well, this guy's nickname was the Geek, and it's Bob St. Clair. There's a football YouTube video out. It talks about him a little bit more. Talks about how he was more a little bit of a funny guy, a little bit more. So go check it out, and he goes more in detail about some of these players we're talking about, their personalities. These guys are they definitely got some personalities, and that's what it's all about too. It's like, when you have a football team, these guys, they're 53 guys. Not everybody's going to get along. Not everybody's going to get along the way you think they should, but somehow, some way they fit in and they get it. Yeah. And they bond, right? They gel. So when you have players like, that are like Bob St. Clair, and they give themselves nicknames, or people give themselves nicknames, there's a story behind it. David.
Well, Bob St. Clair was 6'9". He was tall. And that's way big for back then. He probably made everyone else on the field look like they were short. It was a 5-time Pro Bowler and long time starting offensive tackle for us. So that's insane. 6'9", 263. That just shows you the difference in the game and how it's progressed, folks. Now what's an offensive tackle? 300 to 320. You got some guys that are way over that, like the guy DeJuan Jones for the Browns. He's 6'8", 340. That just shows you how the game's progressed, right?
Dude was huge. But that he was the Geek, and definitely go check out the video I'm talking about. You'll find it. It's a really cool video. All right, so we got Mr. Jerry Rice, our homeboy guy. He's not our homeboy guy, but he's our guy that he's our homegrown guy, right? He's the guy that we drafted. We found a diamond in the rough. We got really lucky. He was Mr. 49er for a very long time. The Niners did what they do with a lot of players, and sometimes they let a player go before there's not left anything, and maybe their skills diminish and their accolades are diminished. But Jerry Rice was one player that was able to leave the 49ers and go elsewhere. He still had something in the tank. The man, if he was asked today to put on a suit and a helmet, I think he would really think about it. I think he stays in shape. I think the guy can probably give you at least one or two more catches. I don't want to see him get hit. I don't want to see him get hurt or anything like that. But Jerry Rice is he's the GOAT in my opinion. He'll always be solid. He is always welcome to the 49ers. He's usually at almost every game, but he had to leave us. He went to the Oakland Raiders. He went to the Seahawks. I don't like that. I can do the Raiders. The Seahawks, I'm not happy with that. He went to the Broncos. He was playing for the Broncos in preseason. When they told him that he was going to be wide receiver 4, he was just like, this isn't really what I want to do. And that was it. So Jerry Rice is retired. He's got almost every stat in the book. He does. He's a Hall of Fame guy. David, what would you like to say about the GOAT, Mr. Jerry Rice?
The best wide receiver all time in the NFL. It doesn't. He has records that were done in there was a strike shortened season where he set a record, and then everyone's like, "Oh, the record got broke." Okay, did They do it in 14 games. Jerry Rice he was reliable. He was clutch. Like you needed to drive down the field, in the last 2 minutes to win the game. The guy's open. He's catching the ball. He finds ways to get open. He wasn't the biggest. He wasn't the fastest, but he was the best.
Yeah, 6'2", 200 pounds, born October 13th, 1962, Crawford, Mississippi, and the guy was just unbelievable. There's really a lot of stories out there. People probably know these stories. I like telling this one. He wasn't the guy playing football. He was cutting school, and the principal seen him. The principal seen him and tried to chase him down and catch him and his friends that were cutting school. He couldn't catch him, but he knew who he was. He seen his face, and the next time he seen him, he said, "Hey, you need to go with me." And he told the football coach about him. And the next thing you know, Jerry Rice was playing football. Jerry Rice, I believe his mom didn't want him to play football, if I'm correct, but he ended up getting to play. He had to help, because it's just one of those things. You come from a bigger family. Sometimes, you need to help when you get bigger. There's more mouths to feed. There's more chores. There's just more work to do. And it makes you a better person, really, when you have to get up and take care of responsibilities and you have to do things for someone or others count on you. And you also count on other people to do things. You become a community, a family. And that's what Jerry Rice was a part of. His family was huge, really big family. His mom and dad took care of them as best as they could. But his dad went out and did jobs. And when he had opportunities to take his sons with him, they did. Well, his dad's a bricklayer. And the best way for Jerry Rice and his brothers to help his dad were to help move the bricks. Well, there was a system in place, and climbing up and down a ladder carrying bricks is kind of hard. So there's a faster way to do it, but it can be dangerous. So you better pay attention. David, how did Jerry Rice transfer bricks with his brothers?
Didn't he do it the old-fashioned way?
He did. So one boy would stand on the bottom, and the other boy would be up on top of the roof or wherever, and they would toss the bricks to each other. So Jerry Rice learned to catch. He learned to catch with his hands, and you do not want to miss a brick coming at your face. I don't know what's worse, a brick or a wrench, David. But if you can, you ain't trying to dodge either one. You got to catch it, right? Because that's the whole idea. Is how are you going to move the material to where it needs to be moved at in a way where it's safe or it's faster or it's more productive, right? So the boys, they got a method and they learned, and Jerry Rice became very good at catching. He was already very good at running and fast. So there you go. Next thing you know, he got a college scholarship and came into the NFL. His nickname was it Fifi or Keefe? It was Fifi, I think.
Fifi.
His nickname was Fifi. And Mr. Rice, you can see some of his old videos. They show he just wanted to be the greatest wide receiver ever. And that's what he emerged. He worked hard at. There's a hill in San Francisco that he runs. He runs it. It was, I believe, Roger Craig who started running the hill and showed Jerry Rice this hill. And then from there, Jerry Rice continued to run this hill. Jerry Rice has taken other football players up this hill to train, and they just can't keep up. Hey, that is what it is. When you put your mind to a goal, you truly can. Anyone can accomplish anything that they want if they put their time and their energy into it. You got to believe in yourself, folks. You really do. David, last player. Can you guess who our last player is, or do you got that photographic memory? Who's our last 49er retired? Jersey number.
I don't have that photographic memory. We have so many,
Well, folks, if you're still here, thank you so much. We are having a lot of fun. This is it. So we went through Steve Young, John Brody, Montana, Perry, McNiner, Johnson, Lott, Kruger, Nominelli, St. Clair, Rice, and like David just said, Mr. Dwight Clark. Mr. Dwight Clark. This is the guy. Mr. Dwight Clark, right there. If you guys see it up there at the top, that's it. This is Dwight Clark. If you haven't got a chance to check this book out, it's Letters to 87. It's highly I highly recommend this book to anyone who is a 49er fan. If you haven't had a chance to read it, it's a great book. It's stories about the 49ers. It's stories to Dwight Clark. Dwight, he and many other athletes have over time taken hits and taken injuries, and there's things out there that we just can't figure out. We could put a man on the moon, but we can't figure out everything. We haven't been able to stop cancer. We haven't been able to stop certain things. But Dwight, he was we lost Dwight from ALS, and it's not fun. And if people don't know, Google it, take a look. It's not something fun. It's important to take care of your body, and it's also important to love your family members, because and really we don't know what's ahead of time. But there's stories in the book about Dwight, and there's people who wrote him stories and told him about things that, because of what happened, sure, he just caught one ball, and it changed, like all these people's perception about the team and all this stuff. But for you just did something silly, minor, right? You caught the pass that really everybody like clings to. But for you just went out like it was practicing, caught a pass. But because you caught that pass, it changed a lot of people's mindsets, and, give a lot of people happiness, and just, it really did. It changed San Francisco. There was people on the field that jumped on the field after the amazing catch one. There's people who took a sample of the grass, and for over 30 years, they had this grass from Candlestick put in their refrigerator, their freezer. So when Dwight Clark was, on his bed, they sent him this. They sent him a little bit of the grass, the sample from what they had kept. And Dwight Clark seen that and smiled and said he would like to be buried with that. So things matter to other people, and things that you do out there, the contributions that you do for society. Sir, you're not a pro football player. Maybe you're just a painter, but maybe you paint that apartment the best way you can, and somebody feels really good about it, and make that from there inspires them to go on and do good things, just because, they feel good about where they live, right? Well, Dwight Clark did his job. He got lucky. He made a pass, and people from there took that memory, and they've had multiple memories from there. So shout out to Dwight Clark and all the 49ers that's done anything good or bad. You gotta play the game to win or lose, right, David?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
What's your thoughts on Dwight Clark? Were you able to get to see him live when he was playing, or is that a little bit before your time? Like, because for me, I'm a 95
I was
guy.
a kid. I was a kid. I got to see him play some games before he retired, and I also saw him line up at wide receiver and tight end. So there's depends on who you ask, depends on what position he played. He was mainly a wide receiver, folks, and he would pass catch from the tight end position. So
he was almost like our utility knife before we coined that with Juice or Tom Rathman, right? I just think Dwight was great. He really was. He stuck around the organization even after he retired. He was one of those former 49ers. And, there's a really cool statue of him over there in Santa Clara. And if you ever get to go to the stadium, go take your picture over there. David, that's how high he really jumped, huh?
It really is. Yes, I stood by it and I was looking at it like, wow, that guy can jump. And that there's two statues at Levi's, folks, and it's Dwight Clark jumping to catch it, and Joe Montana celebrating at the end. And it's pretty awesome just to see it.
Yeah. So, folks, if you haven't seen it, this is the catch we were referring to. That's the thing that changed San Francisco, and will forever be probably the the play of the NFL. I really truly think a lot of people look at that play and have coined it the best play that's ever been played, and the moment for NFL. There's not too many other moments that people pinpoint and say that's that moment, that's that iconic moment. But you have two of the I got to give Dallas credit, right? You got two of the best teams, the best franchises in the NFL, Dallas Cowboys and the 49ers. And that moment happened right there. And they were there at the same time. So shout out to the Cowboys. Shout out to the 49ers. Shout out to the faithful, everyone here. David, you got any honorable mentions that you would like to say about Dwight Clark? Other than, like.
Well, he was one of the best wide receivers we've had. And we've had, I'd say, I can't say a lot of great wide receivers. We did have Jerry Rice, had John Taylor, Dwight Clark, Terrell Owens. He was also really good. But he had a good career with us, multiple Super Bowl winner, and he was reliable. So just having him on the squad, back then really, really put us above the competition.
All right. We have Dawn. She's asking where you can get the book. We Googled, I think we got it off the internet. I think we went on Amazon, or we got it out of Barnes and Noble. But shout out to East Coast Red and Gold. They were the ones who alerted us and let us know about the book. And it's a beautiful book. There's all kinds of stories in it, and really it's a great book. Thank you, Red Jet. Yes, forever Dwight Clark. He's our guy. He's one of the most, probably, he's the guy. He wasn't the fastest, wide receiver. He wasn't the, whatever, most elusive, but when we needed him, he was clutch. So, and at that moment, that was the clutchest moment in history that he probably could be. So, and John J. F the Cowboys. Yeah. We try, John's being fun too. I don't always bring up comments like that because I like to be polite, but because, I try to respect them. But yeah, when Cowboys are on, I'm not F the Cowboys. I don't like the Cowboys at all. So, David, what's going on? We got a little bit more time before the combine happens. Folks, we're going to do a little bit more of these videos, breaking down some more players. We're going to get more stats for everybody and come back to it. We're going to have Jason Hurley on today. He's a little under the weather, folks, and he'll be back. And when he is back, we will have him on sometime. We'll be looking forward to getting Damian Lee on as well here soon. And for right now, we are in the moment of waiting, right? We are waiting to hear when we're going to have a defensive coordinator, and we are just waiting. There's other players that the Niners have kind of picked up. They're a little bit primarily maybe practice squad guys, people that are just, they could be on the team. We'll see what happens. We're right now listening to what our injuries have come out, because it sounds like everybody in the Super Bowl was hurt or was playing hurt, which isn't fun. Do you believe that, David? We are one of the most healthiest teams, and then we get to the Super Bowl and everybody's hurt.
I know everyone got hurt during the Super Bowl. It's like, hey, man, I think we've talked about this a few times. When Greenlaw went out, that's when Travis Kelce all of a sudden was open. So, and we're going to be missing him for a good part of next season.
So it sounds like we're going to be needing a linebacker, and we're going to be needing a couple of players. And it's been thrown out there, a couple of different players that could come back. I'd like to see the offensive lineman. I think his name's Trent Brown. We used to have him. I think he's a Patriot right now. I think we could go get him. And then Alshar. I can't say his name. David, can you say
Azeez
it?
Al-Shaair.
Thank you, sir. He's from right now. He was on the Titans, if I'm correct, but he only went for a 1-year deal, I think. So we should be able to get him back potentially, and that wouldn't be so bad. So we have a couple players we can go back and get that we're familiar with, and there's some players out there that hey, there's potential that they're going to be released. I don't think anybody knows that's been watching knows it's a secret. It's not a secret. If we could get Bosa, I'd like to get Bosa, but the injury concern does bring up like eyebrows. Everybody, Tony said it too. He had an injury late in the season. I still think if we can get him for a team-friendly deal, maybe his brother pays him a little bit extra. I don't know, but he's already in California, so the taxes shouldn't be that big of a deal. I see this happening. I know everybody wants Brian Burns, but I don't see that one happening. That would probably be the better option, for longevity. But David, is there any other players that you would like to highlight that I haven't really gotten a chance to? Gibson, do you think he's retiring?
We haven't heard yet. And honestly, if he signs with us next season, I don't see him starting over Huff and Jair Brown. Nothing against the guy. He's a good safety. But I would like to have him back just to see him pull up and, be the third safety, because right now we're depth-wise, we're thin. So I wouldn't mind having him back. Haven't heard on if he's retiring or not. Maybe he's waiting for the emotional side of the Super Bowl loss to pass before he thinks about that decision, right?
Do you remember what Hufanga, or if anybody in the chat can remind me? I'm just drawing a blank right now. What was Hufanga's injury?
ACL.
So he should be ready to go when our season starts up. And then we have Jair Brown as well, who also plays his positions.
Yep, Jair Brown. That's right.
Thank you, media. So we need linebackers. And we need potentially some defensive linemen. Other than that, our defense is okay. Our corners should.
Well, we had 2 rookie linebackers that didn't get enough game time, and I think it's Kyle's loss of faith in a rookie. But we had guys that could keep up with Travis Kelce sitting on the bench, D. Winters and Jalen Graham, but Kyle's has no faith in rookies. So, hopefully he can fix that moving forward, because I would like to see some of these players that we draft on the field their first year.
It's weird. I mean, I guess it's not so weird if you look at it like this mentality, and I'm not trying to say I'm Kyle or I can think for him, because if I could think for him, then I'd be maybe working for the 49ers instead of just sitting here talking with you guys. But okay, thinking like this, maybe if the players on our team are good, and if we can upgrade, then we'll upgrade. But maybe we go and grab a player that has fallen a little bit. We see potential in him, and he just might need to be coached up a little bit. We'll snatch him up this year, and we'll sit him, and then we'll start him next year. Hopefully, he should be up to terms, right? He should be ready. He should be game shape. Maybe he's got into the weight room and lifted enough and built up his body. Maybe he's got enough mental reps, in practice. And see, that's where I'd have to draw the line and say, how much practice time are these rookies really even getting? So what are they really truly getting? Are they just sitting in the playroom with everybody while they're going over the stats and they're going over the plays and saying, okay, this guy's here and this is what you should be doing? Are they just doing like studying basically? Because the starters are the ones that are out there practicing. The starters are the ones that are out there doing all this, because they have to be ready for the game. The backups and these rookies, they're on the practice squad, and they're playing on the scout team. So they're not getting as much reps, and they're not getting that much time either. So if you get drafted and you're not starting, and you don't start your second season, that don't look good for you with the 49ers. That shows that you didn't develop, or you didn't develop fast enough, or you're just not getting it. Does that make sense, David?
Yes. Honestly, I feel like it hinders a young player's development. So, here you are. Oh, second year, we're going to get them on the field. Okay, now they're making the mistakes that they should have made last year.
So if you're always drafting for a year later, because you're okay with what you weren't able to do the last year, but you're hoping that last year's mistakes won't be made this year. Okay, so like everybody got better within a year, right? So then the rookies ideally should get better too. But when you don't play them, and then they do come in and so I don't know. I mean, I guess you got to kind of live by the sword and die by the sword too, in a certain sense. You would like to see them draft players that they can, immediately say these guys are impact guys. And it's interesting because when you look at quarterbacks, the quarterbacks who have been able to sit for 4 years, they've been primarily really good. Some of these quarterbacks that's been rushed right out there right away, they don't play very well. So I guess it just really breaks down to the player. But David, I just can't understand this because the entire time we really have had this organization with these coaching staff. I know this coaching staff keeps changing, but primarily we've had two people in the coaching staff that's been here the entire time. They don't like rookies, do they?
They don't. The only rookies we've seen start are along the defensive line, which was Nick Bosa. The second overall pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we saw the offensive lineman, Burford start at right guard, but he was rotated in and out. And then we saw Ayuk, which was another first round pick, starting, at wide receiver. That's it. The rest of the guys, they've only come in out of necessity. Like Elijah Mitchell, when he was a rookie, only reason he got hit all the reps is because Mostert got hurt. So, at this point, it's like, if these guys are good, we don't know they're good because they've been sitting for a year. So here we are thinking, hey, we're going to need a linebacker. But what if D. Winters and Jalen Graham, what if they are that good where we don't? We don't know. We didn't see them.
Yeah. Or Cameron Latou. They redshirted him. Either he had a serious injury and they didn't want to say what it was, or they didn't want him getting snatched up by another team. And there just wasn't room for him this year because they said, hey, we got to make some space. We really like you, but we can't, put you on the team right now because we got other guys. This is where it's like going to get really interesting because there's players that are still on contract, but they're not contributing. They're on their, rookie deals. Rookie deals are a lot cheaper than, some of the veteran deals that we get. And it's once you make a name for yourself or you've done a couple things on the football field, you've made a couple key highlights, then you're like, oh, I deserve to get paid. But if you're a rookie and you've sat for how many years and we've wasted all this, cheap money, this cheap seasons on you, right? And now you get to your season, you're supposed to make an impact and you're supposed to get, paid the following season. Is that your coming of age time now? Like now, I don't think that's right. I think you should have to put in a couple seasons before you get paid like that. It's like, oh, it's kind of like what happened with Debo, right? Debo's first season, he was okay. Then he took a step back. Then he's been injured. Then he played one really good season, and then he wants to get paid. And you're like, but you played one really good season. Like even your rookie season, you got hurt. So I don't like the way they pay the players.
I don't like it either. Let's talk about the Debo contract. Prime example, folks. Let's wait for everyone else to sign and the price to be sky high before we sign Debo. Let's do that. Let's not sign him really early in the period before the price goes up and it costs us an extra somewhere around $4 to $6 million a season. Shout out to Prague Marthe. Yeah, good job, buddy. Let's sign him during training camp when the price is sky high.
Yeah, where he's really mad, and he hasn't been practicing with the team or even determined or even, thinking he wants to play with the team. You've made him at this point feel alienated and want to sit out. He's not all in. It's because you didn't go all in with him. Players get paid early, like what happened with Jimmy Garoppolo, and then people get mad. These fans, these fanatics, they're, oh, you shouldn't pay him, you shouldn't pay him. But then right after Jimmy Garoppolo got paid, what happened to all the other quarterbacks around him, David? What? They all got paid.
Yeah, the price goes up every year. That's what happens. The price goes up, so does the salary cap, which I wasn't expecting 30.5 million. That actually put us from the red to the green. Right now, this is something we're going to be talking with a guy on a future podcast. Shout out to him. He couldn't make it today. Hope you feel well soon, buddy.
Yeah.
But at this point, we have 6.4 million after cutting Oliver. More moves are coming. I'm on the extend Ayuk and Chavarius Ward train, because if you do that, it will down their cap hit for this upcoming league year, and we'll have even more money to spend without losing anybody.
Yeah.
And I've been keeping my eye out on the center market primarily, because if we have a good center, that is gonna, whoever's honestly, I would like to see an upgrade at right guard, because that would also help McKivitz. But if we have a good center, that's going to help the offensive line. They're going to know who to block. The pass blocking will improve because everyone's going to know what they're supposed to do. We shouldn't see a play like Burford just letting Chris Jones right at Purdy. That type of stuff doesn't need to happen.
How about we do one better? Why don't we just go get Chris Jones?
Oh my goodness. That would be a league better watch out,
So that could happen. That could definitely happen. I believe he's a free agent on the other side. We'll have to see. We'll just have to see, folks.
I think they tagged him last year. I could be wrong, but I think they franchise tagged him last year. And he said, all right, I'll play on this for a year. But now he's a free agent, and if they don't sign him, their defense, he is by far their best defensive lineman. Their defense is not going to be the same next year.
We will definitely get into that. Folks, we will go back through the retired numbers again. We like doing that. It's a lot of fun. The history, and I want to go through it slower where we can show you the players that's also wore the numbers of these legends that did something significant to, say, hey, you deserve this number, and no one else in the Niners organization is going to wear it without your blessing, right? We're also going to dive into the season, the schedule coming up in front of us. The upcoming opponents, we'll go through them a little bit. We'll go through it slow about what they did last year, some of the key needs that they need for their team, and we'll try to give you guys a ballpark figure on when we might be playing them this upcoming season. David and me, we like working together. We got a lot of good things coming in front. Folks, we're giving away a jersey, a Kaepernick jersey, so please like and subscribe to both channels, watch the video, email me. That's the way you enter to win. And it's an awesome jersey. It's really nice. It was given to me and my wife, and it was a really lovely donation by my wife's aunt, who will also get on the show here soon. She's a busy lady, but I will have to, I'm just going to have to go over there. I'm going to have to go over there, and we're just going to have to go live right then. But when we do get a chance, she's a great lady, and I haven't really got a chance to talk to her since the Super Bowl loss. And, sometimes, takes a little bit of time before you want to start talking about certain things. Some things hurt a little bit harder and a little bit more. I've been wearing my San Francisco Giant jersey, hoodie around the house because I just found it and I haven't wore it for a while, and it's I don't know, it makes me feel comfy when I wear it. But I'm not putting away the red and gold. It comes out all the time. The numbers, the flag, it's staying up. But folks, there is other things besides football, but we would like you to come back through. And when you come back through, me and David will be talking about football and other things, of course. But primarily, we keep it 49ers Central. We will have other guests coming in. They'll be talking about their teams as well. Jason Hurley will be coming back through. He knows a lot about the 49ers cap and some of these players and, some of these contracts that are a little harder to understand. So thank you again for coming. And if you guys don't mind, hit that like button on both channels. Again, we really do appreciate you. David and me are working tomorrow with Ty Austin on Stay Faithful. No, Stay Faithful was last week. Is it my channel tomorrow, David? Your channel tomorrow?
It's your channel tomorrow, Bryant.
Oh boy, I got to get busy. So tomorrow night, around 5:15, folks, we will be firing up the Bat Cave. The Bat Signal will be on, the Bat Computer, if you've ever watched the old TV show, the Bat Lab, right? And we will be back. The three of us will be going over, and here soon we're going to start bringing in a guest or something to talk a little bit amongst the three of us. When we do have Aaron, Aaron will be back. When Aaron comes back, he's always welcome, and we'll just be going from there. But we're going to keep the show going because we like working together. We've had a lot of fun, and then I would really think there's been some things that's come out of our heads that possibly the Niners might have heard. So, hey, if you guys are listening, thank you. We appreciate it. The Illuminati's out there. Tommy Huxley said it. Steve said script 6. So, folks, stay tuned because the script is in this time. Hopefully, it's a better ending for us. And with that, we're gonna end it with our jersey giveaway, and we'll see you guys next time. So thank you. Make sure you watch the video so you know how to enter to win. It's free to enter. We'll see you next time.